Hi guys, so over the last few months I've been having a lot of fun turning Warhammer 40K sprues into, well, a whole variety of, well, other Warhammer bits and pieces. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this, and you guys certainly seem to be enjoying these videos. But also I wouldn't be able to make these kind of things that I do make out of sprues if it wasn't for the good old SprueGoo. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video and sort of show, well, the SprueGoo that I use, how I make it, and the fact that there's now 3 different types of SprueGoo I use. Yep, you heard right, I've got 3 different types. Originally, yeah, just the one, and then another, and now, yeah, a third. So with the use of SprueGoo, we can make awesome things like this. Lovely sort of textured bits on creatures, or flat panels, or, well, all sorts really. So the first thing we need to do is get some sprues, and you lovely guys have been sending sprues into me, which is pretty good, because, well, I'm going through quite a lot now, and as much as I have got quite a lot of sprues, a lot of mine still have, well, miniatures on, so don't want to use those ones yet. So the first thing I'll do when I get the sprues, and that is to cut out the centre bit. So yeah, so we have the outer bit and the centre bit, and as you can see, the outer bit, obviously some nice long edges, so we use those to make, well, you'll see most of my videos, I like making frames. But the first thing we need to do though is get rid of, well, all these little nibbly knobbly bits. So with the sprues guys, I keep absolutely every single bit that I take off, whether it's a small bit, a large bit, or whatever kind of bit. So I've got a variety of Bitz boxes that I put, well, all my bits in now. And we've got quite a collection of them. But yeah, so all the nibbly knobbly bits, we need to sort of cut off, try and get as close to the sprue as possible. As I say, because these bits will be used to make frames. You can make panels and other bits and pieces with these. But yeah, the cleaner, smoother they are, obviously the better, because then they join really nice to other bits of sprue when you come to sort of gluing the bits and pieces on. And there we go. So then I've got loads of lovely straight edge bits, which, to say, mostly I use for frames. Great for making terrain bits and pieces as well as those. So all the middle bits, yeah, obviously we use all these. Again, these could be used for making just sort of weird and wonderful frames or some weird terrain. But what I like to do is just cut them all up into sort of, well, smaller pieces. Again, there's a box for all these cut-ins. So these cut-ins are what I'm going to be using to make the SprueGoo. So as I say, every bit of the sprue I use. So as you can see, yeah, a nice big box, loads of big bits of sprue. And the size that I cut them down to, I cut them just so they fit into, well, whatever sort of container I'm using. So this is where you need a nice glass jar with a nice airtight sort of lid on it. As well, when we make the SprueGoo, it will last, I think the longest I've had some last for was about a year. Obviously the acetone in there does evaporate after a while, so you have to put some more bits in. So as you can see, yeah, I've got another bits box, and this is where, well, any bits that I make, I try and make loads of bits at once. So what I'm trying to do is say, get lots of bits boxes full of, well, all kinds of things that I'm going to need or may use in other videos. So that's the one thing when making things with sprues, it's quite a slow process, as it takes, yeah, a good 7-12 hours for those sprues to turn into SprueGoo. And then it takes the same sort of time for the SprueGoo to then sort of firm up and harden up. So yeah, I'm making lots of bits and pieces just so I've got lots of things ready to hand, really. So the great thing with the sprues, yeah, or the SprueGoo, you can put it in molds. I've got a variety of sort of silicone brought molds, and I've got this flexi mold that I've got from Green Stuff World, and this has been absolutely awesome, this stuff, because, well, as it sort of implies, you can reuse it. It's reusable, flexible mold. So while that SprueGoo is drying, I'm going to talk about today's sponsor. That's My Mini Factory and the Only Games crates, a great way to get 3D printed miniatures without having a 3D printer. So this month, both the sci-fi and fantasy boxes are from Heresy Labs, and as you can see, everything is well packed, which is just awesome. Miniatures look absolutely great, and the crates are £15 a month, and this includes shipping. I do have a discount code down below, Hobbyist Crate, which will get you your first month of subscription free. And this applies to both the sci-fi or the fantasy crates. And starting this month, as well as having the choice of going for either the sci-fi or the fantasy, there is now the option of choosing a colour crate. And this is one coloured miniature, and this month the creator is Miniatures of Madness, and it's this awesome looking dwarf. And just like the other crates, the price for the colour crate is £15 a month, and again this includes shipping. So considering this little guy normally costs £20 plus postage if bought normally, Colour Crate is definitely the most affordable way to start collecting full colour miniatures from Only Games. I'll leave all the links and bits down below, guys, to get more information. So go check them out now. So with the silicone ones, yeah, they work really, really well. Just a case of pushing sort of SprueGoo in, leaving them. Say I normally leave everything overnight. It's at least 7 hours really, but the longer the better, because even after 7 hours, the things are still a little bit on the soft side. So as I say, we get all these little sprue bits, and then you want to get your glass jar and get some acetone, put that in there. And as I now have 3 types of SprueGoo, yeah, as you can see, this is the Mark 1. So this is with 99.9% acetone. So when you buy acetone, it does sort of seem to come in different percentages. It's normally always 99 point something. You can get 100% acetone. So yeah, use that as well. So this is the 99.9%. This is the first one I kind of use. The second sort of SprueGoo I've got is this one. And this one is in some brutal acetate. So this one's a lot stronger. So say, whenever you use these things, guys, well ventilated area. But I will say with the Mark II, you really want to do that one outside, because that has got a lot stronger smell and is definitely worse for you than any of the others. So yeah, you leave the stuff in. So say with the Mark I, it's nice and soft and gooey. Because something I get quite a lot of emails about is you guys saying, obviously you have a go at making the same things as me, which is absolutely awesome. But when it comes to the SprueGoo, yours isn't as, well, soft and runny. And the reason for that possibly is the acetone you use needs to be 99.9% or 100. It makes such a big difference if it's not 99.9, which I didn't realise at first. So I've been making things with SprueGoo for about 4 years. I only just got back into doing it. So a lot of you guys say your stuff is a lot firmer. And this is probably the reason why. So I recently bought some more acetone. But I like to go for the cheaper stuff. So I went for the cheaper one, and it's this. It's 99.5, which you kind of think doesn't make a lot of difference. But as you can see, it makes a big difference. So this stuff obviously still is SprueGoo, but as you can see, it's a much thicker consistency. And yeah, not the sort of runny sort of stuff that I typically use. So I only found this out recently, so I thought the 99.5 would still be really good. But yeah, that 0.4% of a difference is a big difference. But the good thing is, though, this SprueGoo is still awesome to use. It does take almost twice as long for the sprues to dissolve in the acetone to become SprueGoo. But on the upside, it takes half the time to then return back to being sprues. And as you can see, yeah, this SprueGoo is a lot thicker than my normal SprueGoo, which means rather than sort of like trying to paste it in with using my tools, yeah, this stuff is just easier using by hand because, well, it doesn't seem to have that sort of stickiness either, which is pretty cool. So this is like kind of like SprueGoo Mark 1 after about 30 minutes, an hour. So this stuff, yeah, very pliable, kind of like, well, like a plasticine really. So with it, yeah, it's just a case of manipulating it with my fingers, moving it around. Obviously wearing gloves, even though this stuff, say, doesn't really seem to contain or feel like it has the acetone in it like the other one I normally use. But yeah, great for pushing in. So this stuff, it dries a lot quicker. So there's definitely some ups to using the Mark III SprueGoo. The first one's great if you want to do smaller sort of bits and pieces, especially in silicone molds, because obviously it goes in all the nooks and crannies a whole lot better. But SprueGoo Mark III, yeah, definitely still use this in some of the larger molds that don't have sort of intricate details. And the Mark III definitely seems to make for smoother panels, which is pretty cool. So keep an eye out for the next thing I'm building. It's a 97 Thunderhawk. So this middle one, so the brutal acetate is basically your cement glue. Yeah, so putting sprues into cement glue turns it into this one, which I now call Mark II. But obviously don't buy the small little package because obviously they are very expensive. Instead, you'll want to buy sort of what the stuff is, which is this butyl acetate. So this big sort of container was £17, and this little container, well, these sort of generally between about £4 and £8. And as you can see, yeah, you get tons more. So if you do a lot of sort of building and making and use a lot of cement glue, yeah, definitely highly recommend buying some butyl acetate. Obviously, you can get a smaller one than this. I've only got this large one because, say, it was cheaper, and I know I am going to use a lot over time. And this stuff is great because it really does, say, dissolve the sprues, but it stays as a very sort of more of a liquid kind of thing. So this stuff is awesome for obviously more, yeah, filling in gaps rather than anything else. So as you can see, yeah, it is, yeah, smooth like butter. So with this one though, obviously rather than using that sort of metal tool, I typically use a little brush And a brush I use, well, it's the one that's already in the cement glue. So this is great. So this is great for filling in gaps, filling in little holes, or where I've joined some bits together. Yeah, putting this over the whole thing. So it just kind of like smooths it out. But like I mentioned earlier, this stuff is a lot stronger than normal acetone. So other than a few little clips that I video myself using for the videos, yeah, this stuff I actually use outdoors just because it does, well, it's a lot more potent and obviously probably a lot more worse than the other stuff. So there we go. So Mark 1, Mark 2 and Mark 3, all for sort of different reasons and different sort of ways of using them really. Let's say the Mark 1 is the normal one, which is, yes, it's nice and gooey, dries really well and makes obviously some great things. The second one, awesome for filling in gaps. I can put it in molds, but it just takes, it takes a long time for that one to dry. And then yeah, Mark 3, Mark 3 is great because it's a lot thicker, and that is good for making panels. I say they dry a whole lot quicker. And the combination of using all of these means that, well, I can make things like this. So say these panels are obviously the sprues are just glued together, and then using the Mark 2 to sort of brush over, as that really does sort of fill in any nooks and crannies and makes things a whole lot smoother. So by using the combination of sprues and these different sort of SprueGoos that I've got, yeah, I kind of generally believe I can possibly have a go at making anything and everything. Obviously, the bigger the better. This stuff isn't great for making sort of small little things, but certainly bits of terrain. Terrain is obviously awesome with sprues. Even if you're not using the SprueGoo, just using sprues, you can make some awesome terrain. But yeah, if you do start getting some silicone molds, or say flexi mold, or your own kind of mold stuff, then yeah, you can mold a whole variety of pieces. And I know that certainly helps me, well, make a whole variety of things. If you do have any questions about the SprueGoo, by all means let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can answer them. And as always, don't forget to let me know in the comments what you want to see me make next. Okay, there's another video coming up on the screen. So I want to say a big shout out and thank you to all my lovely patrons for helping support me and making me continue to be able to do this sort of thing. And if you guys want to send in some sprues, there's also my email down below where you can get hold of me to, well, send in some sprues. Okay guys, like, share, subscribe, leave comments, all that great stuff. See you in the next one. Bye for now.